Hello?
That looks like an old rotary phone.
Oh. Hey, pick up line 2.
Hello? Yeah, that's the wrong number. This is Chase Space. Thanks.
So Chase is in Japan right now.
I love Nico Circuit.
We've been back and forth communicating through phone calls or text messages at odd hours. Car's also gone to paint and body. All the parts are at powder coat. So right now we're gonna focus on the engine, doing all the little small odds and ends, using the Type S oil pump, using the oil pan, piecing all that stuff together and getting it ready to go into the car.
Hello?
So Car and Chase are back.
I'm fluent. Arigato gozaimasu.
Car's back from paint and body, Chase is back from Japan. All of our parts are arriving from powder coat. We went with the chalk gray engine bay and a white exterior because we're gonna vinyl wrap the car in whatever livery we decide later.
Most race cars throughout time, especially in imports, they have what they call battleship gray on the interior. The original function of it was that most fluids you can see really well on gray paint. The exterior is going to be chalk gray wrapped too, but we had them go ahead and paint these just matching to the car because we're going to do the first couple events without the wrap. That way we can get all of our trimming done. There's some trimming that's going to have to happen. Car compresses super hard, this has to be trimmed, whatever it is. So not in final form necessarily, but I don't have much more to say. We're ready to get working. We don't have much time. Well, this is deeper. This is why cars suck. Why didn't I just keep skateboarding? It's way cheaper. The full price for a skate deck is $100.
Nuh-uh.
It's more expensive on...
$5 for the good one.
Really? Well, if I'm sponsored, it's free.
It is.
So all of our parts are here and things are about to get incredibly busy.
Just reassembling the Y stuff from powder coat. All these little joints that we took out earlier.
We have to get everything back in the car so Hunter can finish his fabrication parts.
The most important stuff on my radar is getting stuff back to powder coat and getting the car back together so that I can make the stuff that doesn't exist yet, which is the stuff that takes the most time.
The exhaust system that Hunter has to fab in the car, everything has to be in the car. We're running a different bumper. We've got, a different crash bar than a factory crash bar. So the way things line up, it all has to be installed in the car or else we can't even begin to fabricate because we don't know where things are going. So it's hard to gauge how much time that stuff takes because it's a new tackle every single day. So I talked a lot with Stephen Horn from Penske. I've been working with him for years on multiple different cars. Penske was the big choice for me for this car just because I've worked well with them. It's top tier equipment. They've won the Daytona 500, Indy 500, 24 Hours Daytona, you name it, right? So we went with the double adjustable. I think that's more than sufficient for GLTC. I think a triple or quadruple is a little bit excessive.
No, so on a two-way, you've only got compression and rebound, right? So
Compression and rebound.
Yeah, so compression, some people call it bump and rebound. It's pretty obvious. We gotta go.
Running. Why didn't you run with me?
Because I had this coil over my hand and I didn't want to just drop it. I didn't want to drop $2,500 in one hand.
Everything's fine, nothing happened.
Talking about compression and rebound, right? This is cool. We can adjust the nitrogen, so right there, we can get us a little resolution one way or the other.
How does the nitrogen work?
Yeah, so it basically, as you add nitrogen, you're basically stiffening all the compression and rebound up, right? This thing has an operational window. I want to say, don't quote me on this, I'll have to talk to Steve again, but I think it's like 130 PSI up to 250 or 280. Yeah, so you move in that range. We're in the middle right now, but the fronts, you just adjust them from here. Rears, adjust them from here. But yeah, I'm glad Chase pulled the trigger on this. I mean, this is very exciting for me just because I know what this does, and I'm excited for him to drive on these and feel that like Penske difference. I know it sounds like I'm a salesman for Penske, but I'm serious. But like feeling.
Well, I mean, dude, they've won so many NASCAR championships. They've just won 24 hours. It's pretty impressive. Again, I want Chase Base to be the best.
Yeah.
We still want to be connected to grassroots, but we want to be the best.
Right. It's going to be a good season, and this is a very exciting part of that for me.
Yep.
We're working on the dash and the actual door fittings.
We're almost there, boys.
We ran that low slung bar instead of the NASCAR style bar. And that allows us to shut the door and actually retain some of the factory door. Wanted the interior to really stay kind of close to stock because it looks cooler when you have like a nice full interior in a race car. So fitting the dash, we wanted to kind of fit it around the actual A-pillar runs and also retain a center console.
So common problem that we have is the stock diff vent just doesn't work. Even if it's filled properly, it just seems like at the end of the day, we have diff fluid all over one side of the suspension arms. Most stock vents are just a tiny pinhole. I'm talking 1/16 of an inch, maybe 1/32. So this is a 1/4 inch internal diameter, so it's significantly larger. So what we started doing is making a diff vent for everything. So it's usually 1/8 inch MPT over here, or you can drill and tap it. And then we just run our hose and we'll swirl it around a few times like that, just to slow it all down. It usually will get stuck down here. And so since this car is more endurance, I think what we'll do is put an actual reservoir on there. And so we'll use one of our reservoirs or maybe make a new one or something. So yeah, we should be good. This is good proactive measure. We shouldn't have any fluid on the rear of our car by the end of the day.
I watched this dude literally walk over the can of brake clean.
We didn't even have a sink.
I'm like, dude, Mike, you can't use brake clean on your hands. He's like, why not? I do it all the time. I've never met a human being like that man right there. What is it about you, Mike?
It's the military trauma.
Military trauma.
So we got the whole driveline in the car, went super smooth. That's what happens when you prepare. Now we're ready to start installing some Chase Base products.
All right, so it's end of day on, who knows, Wednesday, Thursday, at this point, I don't know.
Wednesday, February 7th.
Thanks. I got a lot of Chase Base stuff done today. If you want to check it out. So we've got catch can mount, oil catch can mount for what works on every rear-wheel drive setup that we've seen, and it works great on front-wheel drive. You can see, got a fitting that goes to the back of the valve cover, goes to our L fitting, and then this goes to the PCV section. So this is PCV and this is CCV. So it brings the two into one, and then this will go out to the intake to make it a recirc setup. Got the oil catch can setup done. We already had the brackets made from the BRZ over here, and we always make driver and passenger side brackets, so that was set up nicely. Got a 120 here, everything's tight fitting, the radiator goes here, got the stays, goes to our oil sandwich adapter. So we'll make that a kit. Clutch line and the tilt and master cylinder adapter. That's pretty cool. I thought maybe the 8.6 WRX clutch line would work, but it didn't. So this looks cool, and we can make it a product on the site. So lots of Chase Base fun things on. Oh, and of course we got the engine. That's the biggest thing. He's just a mean person.
I don't care about anything you're saying. All right.
All right, well, that's the end of the day. I'm sad now.
Don't be sad.
Okay, I'm happy again. This is cool. Oh, man, bye. Let's not.
This is the end of the day.
So now that the driveline's back in the car, we're gonna start working on the exhaust. So Hunter's gonna begin that fabrication. The thing is, with the road race car, we need to be considerate of how low the exhaust is, because we will high side things. Unlike in drifting, at 110 miles per hour.
You're running, the curbing's gonna come in right here. Right, so if you bang the curb on the right side and bounce it up enough, it's gonna compress one time, but the curb's gonna be here.
So really need to consider of where the exhaust lands, considering the ride height on the car and how much compression the car will actually see.
So this is a Flagtronics unit. This shows yellow flags, black flags, red flags. You know, while you're driving a car, they obviously have flaggers at different corners and stuff, but this just makes it very apparent to the driver very quickly that there's a yellow flag, or any flag for that matter. But this also can run through CAN. So what we're trying to do is we have a Haltech IC7 display. So we're gonna try to figure out how to run this into the dash so the actual display will show what flags are going on.
We've got the Flagtronics installed now. We got to run GPS for it, GPS for V-Box, and also run an antenna for our comms. We're gonna run everything through the factory antenna, trying to retain that kind of stock look. Mike and Chase have been super busy with cleaning up wiring, removing what's not needed and adding what we need and things like that. So now it's time to get the V-Box installed. V-Box is an incredibly useful tool. I've used to use it for years coaching people. It gives you all your CAN data traces, and it's all displayed with 2 cameras. You got one facing forward, one facing at the driver, however you want to do it. So it records everything that's happening on track, plus all the data, and you can overlay it in various different ways, but it's an incredibly useful tool to find time to monitor the car and go, hey, on lap 3, I felt something weird. Do we have an oil pressure drop or whatnot? And it's all displayed with video. You can see if the car's oversteering, you can see, is it a driver error? Is it a car error? So lots and lots of useful information with the V-Box.
So I'm starting the brake lines, and I've never really done an ABS line section. We've always deleted it because it's drift cars, and in this car we're keeping ABS. There was a bracket that came here that we were able to delete, super solid. So it looks a little better already. And then we did these 4 brake lines and did them individually so they could be perfect length. And you can see they're tightened and look really cool. They go down underneath. And if you look here, you can see that the symmetry holds true, and I put these 2 rear lines to a clamp with heat sleeves so they don't absorb any brake heat, and then they go to their portion. So pretty proud of that. I think it's awesome. Other things that we've done, so we did the trans cooler up here. So I have the line coming through, just like the oil cooler lines. It goes through there to the upper inlet on the trans. I have the fire sleeve once it gets close to the engine. This one will go, we'll do a 90 from here over to the Tilton pump, and that'll be the outlet. So it'll come out of the trans on the lower portion, and then we'll have an inline filter, same thing as our fuel filters, and then it'll go to the Tilton pump, cooler, back to engine, so we'll keep the trans cool. Cooling is just something, cooling and vibration are the biggest things about this build that we're thinking about, because that's what ends people's days, is bolts backing out. Through the radiator end, I'm loving how everything's looking. Our oil and trans cooler brackets together with the radiator looks super, super awesome and functional. I'm just stoked. I kind of finished it yesterday and just stared at it for a while. Makes everything worth it, you know? Having some problems with, like I mentioned, the ABS wiring. I couldn't get it inside the car. I wanted to move all the headlight and ABS wiring through the fender well to kind of wire tuck it and make it cleaner, but it's just where we're at on the build, and the car has to be done in a week and a half. I can't take 2 days, because 2 days for me is more like 2 weeks, because I can only work on it about an hour or 2 a day. So it's kind of going to the factory routing, but it'll be a little bit cleaner and new electrical tape. So not exactly what I wanted, but we'll make the best of it.
So Chase is developing a tank to rail fuel line kit. We use BMRS products, but this allows us to have less failure points, and also you run AN fittings on all of our fuel lines.
Yeah, so it's Thursday, and I'm about to leave for New York. I planned this trip with my wife as a birthday trip. A few months ago, not knowing that we were gonna be a week away from our first test event, I am extremely anxious that we're not going to make the test event, and if that happens, that really makes the whole thing fall apart, because GLTC is extremely close, and we can't go to a GLTC event without a track, without a test day under our belt. There is so much to do on that car, and we are 1 week away from, we're supposed to be tuned, like dyno tuned, and have the suspension completely aligned and set up and the car ready to load into a trailer 1 week from today. It's not looking good at all. I feel like we've been in this situation so many times in the last year, and I'm kind of getting sick of it. And it's not anybody's fault necessarily, it's just one thing leads to another, and I've started using the term build years, because 3 months is actually just 3 weeks, because 3 months just gets sucked up into oblivion when it comes to builds. So I don't want to be a downer, but I'm not really feeling good about what I'm looking at, and I've got a couple more things to do before I leave today, but yeah, and I'm only gone for a day, but I just feel like me being gone doesn't help. Brian does a good job at moving everything, but if there's something, a question, and I'm busy, I don't know, I need to be able to ask it. And just being gone from here at all, it doesn't make me feel good. At least from here, I feel like I have some sort of control. So I know I'm rambling, but I hate being here again and again and again, where we're a week away from the event and everything looks so far away from being done. And another thing is everybody remains optimistic, which is really good. But at some point you kind of got to be a realist and understand that when this optimism happens, it's good, but it generally doesn't lead to a good place, because people, it's like they're kind of reassuring things that people tell themselves, like, oh, we're all good. And then at the last minute they go, oh my God, we're not good. And then they pick up the speed, they pick up the pace. And we're also against rushing anything. We want to be prepared and ready a week before the event, and then everything's just little details. So yeah, it's a mess. I'm not feeling good about it, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so basically these are J-hooks, and what happens is, depending on like the pad compound, but as the brake pad clamps down on the actual rotor itself, it'll create gases and whatnot, and you'll get some knockbacks that'll want to push the pads away. So this actually will relieve the, I guess, the gases and pressures that you'd experience from the brake pads themselves.
So this week is going to be insane. We got to go to the dyno this week. The car's got to be on track by Saturday.
But where do you want to put the inline filler neck?
Were you thinking here, since the water jackets are going to be kind of, the engine's slightly tilted?
We have just a massive list of things to accomplish this week.
Starting at the front, make sure all the oil, any oil, engine oil item, trans oil item, or diff oil item is completely tight.
All right, so Hunter's working on the coolant system right now. We're gonna do all hard lines with Wiggins clamps. The big thing is, when we begin the process, connecting one part of it here to an odd part here with a lot of bends. You want them to do things that are aesthetically pleasing.
This harness cover here has a line on it, and I try to follow static lines as much as I can. Like, this isn't gonna move. So if I follow that line and that angle with this piece, it will look correct.
So you're gonna make your pie cuts, do a couple tacks and just get it connected all the way to the very end. Have it mounted up before you actually do your final weld. So it's kind of the process that we look for there. Also, we wanted to introduce our inline filler neck within that as well. So we got to get to the dyno. We don't have much time left. It's definitely getting extremely stressful. We got to make sure, we finish up with plumbing the trans cooler and diff cooler, all the different things that are gonna be moving fluids around. We have to make it to this dyno. We have to make sure everything's functioning at a bare minimum, and then there's a whole nother list of things that we have to do to make it to the track.
I'm gonna punt on going to the gym in the morning, and I think we're gonna get here real early.
So it's dyno day, everyone's stressed, we still have some more things to do.
We just gotta focus on this and alignment and putting the seat stuff and belts in the car.
We got here really early in the morning, we didn't leave till late, no one's sleeping.
Just get it where the car runs, let's get it up to temperatures, and let's button the thing up for the dyno.
We gotta run a line to help bleed the coolant because we weren't able to bleed it properly. We gotta get a seat in the car so we could sit on it. The dyno had issues installing the seat.
You ready?
The ride height is being the problem. It's too low. It's getting into the fenders.
Hey, we're not all the way down yet.
For real?
Yeah, I slowed it down.
All right, go.
We got everything together, and as we're driving it, the toe's all, out of shape.
Somebody else needs to help pull. That's all over the tire, these chunks.
So the car's crab walking as we're trying to load the car into the trailer. So everyone's stressed and everyone's tired.
I'm not trying to be dramatic, but the thing scrubs and skips.
I know. Basically, the toe, if these are the front sides of the tires, are like this, so the car's just walking every which way.
So dyno day's over, pretty stressful. We had hiccups here and there, obviously leading up to the dyno. We made decent power. We'd like to make a little bit more in the future, but it's enough to get the car tested, on track, make sure all the other systems are operational. But we still have a lot of stuff that we have to do to get the car to the track. So that's what we're gonna get ready to work on. It's gonna be another long few days, probably no sleep. So we'll see what happens.